Curaj, amintește-mi să-i spun lui Eustache, dacă se mai întoarce, să repare scaunul.
Three, two, one.
Vă prezentăm Sheldon, un fizician nevrotic și un tocilar.
Captain, I'm getting an unusual reading.
Colegul de cameră Leonard, un fizician timid și un tocilar. Penny.
Oh, hi.
Vecina minunată și o adevărată petrecăreață.
Who's next?
I'd like to try a slippery nipple.
Și geniile Howard și Raj, colegi de distracție. Teoria haosului are în sfârșit o casă. Teoria Big Bang cu 4 episoade la rând. Astăzi la Warner TV.
I do have a kind of dyslexic, I guess they would call it dyslexic, I really don't know. But when I mean to say New York, I say America, and vice versa. And so it just comes out that way. For me, New York represents the essence of it's the idea of America, isn't it? I mean, the idea of all these immigrant groups living together, coming here, working out the differences, retaining as much as possible culture, and creating a country. My parents were born on Elizabeth Street, 232 and 241 Elizabeth Street. They're still there, the buildings. They were born in 1910, 1912, or whatever. They were married in 1933, moved out to Sunnyside, Queens, I think, and then to Corona, Queens. And I was born in Flushing Hospital in 42, and then moved back to Elizabeth Street in 1949, which was kind of a shock for me, in a way, because I had been used to a different world. But from what I can remember, what I can remember, New York for me comes from that area that I grew up in, which was Elizabeth Street and Mott Street and Mulberry and Houston, Prince, Spring. Well, how should I put it? There were films that, you know, I have many favorite films, and there are many that change you in a way, but I was enveloped in film in a way. Film was around me all the time, everywhere. You don't live in a theater. People think you do by saying, because you say that, it's just part of your life. It's a habit, in a way. And having had the asthma, yes, I did spend a lot of time there, but I also spent it other places. So film became part of the narrative of your life, so that I'm seeing things happen in front of me in the streets and in church and in school and in the streets again, and in the apartment, in the house, in the tenement, you know, in the family, all that, in the hallways, very important hallways. And that for me is cinema. You see, so I'm saying, well, I see this kind of thing up there. It's the bad and the beautiful, it's Sunset Boulevard, but over here, imagine if this could be somehow translated. That also meant censorship, you see, because you had censorship at the time. But imagine what I hear and see and what I'm part of, even to a certain extent, it goes on a screen. It's amazing. You know, this would be an extraordinary thing. What's accepted as a beautiful image from Hollywood was not necessarily important here. There was another kind of beauty. there's still a lot of stories that came out of New York. And don't forget, filmmaking did start here in New York, Fort Lee, New Jersey, and that sort of thing. Great train robbery was shot here. So there's still a lot of stories about New York. Then New York had to be created in LA. Didn't ultimately had to be created. So there was an idea of New York, but in each studio had its own idea of what New York looked like, suggesting New York. You know, whether it's Von Sternberg's Underworld or City Streets or Scarface or any of the films talking about early talkies, and particularly the Crowd even, which was kind of a heightened New York in a sense, the King Vidor film, which was a New York of the soul in a way. But I think they had to create their own idea of New York. You just couldn't get the equipment here. I mean, some people did. Vidor did, I think, or Mamoulian did to a certain extent, and a few others. But primarily, they had to create an idea of New York. And so, as a young filmgoer, we understood the codification of what those images meant, whether it was Public Enemy, or one could say that's Chicago, but not necessarily. Any of these films, we understood that it meant that it was a New York street. It meant this was a neighborhood on the Lower East Side. It meant it was the Italian neighborhood, the Jewish neighborhood, all the sort of thing that we would accept as being New York. It seemed to me that a lot of the stories come out of New York because of the extraordinary collision, in a sense, and the collision of all the different cultures and the immigrants coming together, all of this creating a life here in the streets, and also a culture. In some cases, subcultures, but very, very strongly a culture. And just the drive to write music, the drive to perform on stage, the drive to make films, the drive to write, all of this, painting, everything was happening here in the streets, really. Of course, I'm talking about a certain level, you know, and that level fed beautifully into cinema, you know, so that the stories were propelled, just like songwriters. You can't think of making a musical or anything about vaudeville or anything about performing without dealing with Broadway at the time, you know, whether it's a silent film or not. And so naturally, the first sound films became all singing, all talking, all dancing, and that sort of thing. So you could see what you could see on Broadway all across the country, and sometimes in color, a certain kind of color which doesn't exist anymore. But in any event, I think all those stories were driven that way. Besides the other idea of the American epic, the idea of manifest destiny pushing west, you know. So New York itself, because of its strategic position, even today, I think, you'll never tire of getting stories from New York. It'll always happen. There's always different cultures coming in. There's different, it's the old story, standing on a street corner in New York, you'll hear many different languages. Any street corner, you know. And this goes back to even cabbies, taxi drivers had their own language. I always talk about this. They always had their own language. I mean, now the different ethnic groups come in, and you have a predominant certain ethnic group, let's say, driving taxis now. But back in the 30s and 40s, it was Brooklynese. The famous So This Is New York, Richard Fleischer's first film, where the cabbie is talking to the family just came in from the Midwest, visiting as tourists, and they put subtitles on the screen. It was Brooklynese. Then you see it in Arsenic and Old Lace and all that sort of thing. And it took a little longer, I think, for it to change. Again, because of the communication at the time, basically just radio. So things have changed with television. I'm talking about 50, 60 years ago, where Brooklynese stayed Brooklynese. You know, it really did. And then as television started to pervade everything, particularly news channels, the accents start to get lost. In any event, these languages constantly are changing here, constantly alive, constantly creating something new. And from that, pretty much any place here in the city, Manhattan in particular, you have energy. That's the nature of this place, the energy of it. And it's there are 8 million stories in the city. What are they now, 20 million? 20, 15 million or so. It's still a lot of stories. And they keep coming. Everybody's got them.
Brooklyn has a very special reputation around the world, so it comes to one's aid when you travel. Somehow they hear you're from Brooklyn, they want to meet you, know you, because they figure something special must have happened in your life. And a lot did. In my travels, New York has never become smaller to me because of other great cities I've been in. It's always loomed large because of what happens here. I'm speaking about the culture of New York. There's so many different cultures involved. And it's just the most interesting place one could have grown up. I remember I have two kids, and I never wanted them to grow up anywhere else but in New York because of my experiences growing up in Brooklyn and coming to the theater in New York and studying theater. And all the wonderful people I was lucky enough to meet in the arts when I crossed the Brooklyn Bridge into Manhattan. And I wanted my children to have that experience, to grow up in that culture of New York, because it has so much to offer, experience-wise. New York is just too, it's overwhelming, and it's just, there's so much. No, if I name one favorite spot, I'm in danger of assassination.
Un actor emblematic.
Whoa. Excited.
Worse.
Dar și un regizor de poveste. Clint Eastwood e un adevărat star de cinema. Iar noi îți prezentăm o serie de filme regizate chiar de el.
Let's just keep on coming.
Thank you.
Deci dacă îți plac filmele, vei vrea să vezi asta.
Yeah.
Colecția Clint Eastwood. În fiecare joi din 8 ianuarie la Warner TV.
Kasę za koncert. Zapłaciła światło, żeby nam nie wyłączyli. Ja się idę przegnać.
No. Nie, dzięki, jest okej.
Wystarczy, że muszę niańczyć moją matkę.
Justyna, ale ja nie paliłem
Mam
nic.
tylko dosyć, rozumiesz?
Justyna, o co ci chodzi? No nic nie
Wróć, jak
paliłem.
dorośniesz!
Proszę pozdrowić żonę.